righty.
Go.
I'm just taking this one page.
I'm gonna leave it there, I'm gonna type it all up tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No, you're here all, you're here. It's your show.
I don't want it. Stick a mic on there.
You're not too loud, are you?
How would I know?
When you set them up, they weren't too loud?
I wasn't in here when he put the mics on. So, because remember he said he had trouble with his hearing?
Is that too loud?
Sounds good.
Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2.
No, that one sounds.
Testing 1, 2, test.
Okay, that's good.
Which number you got, Jerry?
Number 2, we always give him number 2.
Testing 1, 2, test. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. You're hearing it on the little speaker, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you sound good.
Okay.
That speaker's for the YouTube channel,
That's what that's for?
so it's got a facing camera.
This way? This camera?
On the other table. On the other table.
Okay. Like that?
Face it like that, yes.
Okay.
That's for the audio so they can hear it nice and crisp.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yep. All right.
All right,
You're gonna leave me, aren't you?
huh?
You're gonna leave me, aren't you?
No, I'll be watching you from my phone. I gotta work on the stuff in the pool.
Okay. Right now, none. It's only 5 to 2.
see the red thing there says end stream?
Yeah.
Okay, and you see the green dot there that's next to it?
Thing is, yeah,
Right, that means that the audio's working
right,
and the video's working.
okay,
Okay.
all right, okay, thanks. Now, this is usually what you put into the camera, that's usually here all the time?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
There's several
okay,
of them up there.
all right.
Just one check that goes bad. It's all the parts that are on the pipes and stuff that are all corroded and I haven't
Yeah,
changed.
all right.
I'll wait till it gets going.
All right. There's nobody on.
No.
Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, okay. I was looking over here, because usually, oh, when they write, I see, it goes over there. Okay.
Then usually, just write in audio, just audio question mark. Shift,
Yes. Oh, there's my question. Okay. Okay.
thank you.
You guys ready to go?
Huh?
Y'all ready, Rob?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll call this town hall meeting to order. First thing I'm gonna do is give y'all an update from the expo yesterday, and Charles gonna tell you what happened yesterday.
No, it's coming out of that touch speed.
I had 20 vendors here, some canceled due to COVID and some canceled due to the weather. But we had 20 that were here. We had 14 clubs that were here. So all in all, it was a great day. We had a silent auction. We had sold T-shirts for the first time, Brookridge T-shirts, and we're gonna look into having those at other events. And then we had a true 50-50. So the bottom line, after we bought what we needed and made our money yesterday, we're gonna clear $1,365.78 for the clubhouse wish list. Is that what you need me for?
All right. Okay, has anybody that's been to these before know that, I try to give as much information as I can, like dispute rumors or that kind of thing. Let me just talk about two rumors that have come up in the last week, since last Thursday. One of them was, I got accused today of saying that the code enforcement was that I was gonna buy a new car. Well, that's not been voted on yet. I don't know where they got that information from. And what I said last week was that I would prefer, in my opinion, that they bought a car this time instead of a truck. Either way, it was gonna be a car first time and a truck this time, so it doesn't matter how it worked, just as long as they have one of each. And that was for the flooding issue, and also that the truck, when it got wore out, or kind of like when it was not needed by code enforcement anymore, it was gonna either come up here and take the place of that one, or go to Public Works. So that's where the truck was going. That was originally why it was bought. The other rumor that I've heard the last couple of days is that the property, that's commercial property that's next to Midmore over there, was that I'd signed a contract for him to do whatever it is. I don't even know the guy. So there's no meeting been with him or anything else to say that about that property. As far as I know, I would rather it be like, we would all rather it be, I think it's even in the deed restrictions about that property being only for manufactured homes anyway. So let me clear up something. Some of the board members, I will say this, they continually cause us to look for problems. Look for things that keep investigating what was done last year or the year before last. And it's like they waste the office personnel's time, they waste paperwork, because some of the stuff is silly that we're looking for. I found out this morning that a paper was not signed because somebody was a board member's not happy with, they're claiming they didn't get a document last year, when in fact they did get the document last year, and they refused to sign the bylaws. So, that, of course, is what I'm dealing with and what Carol's dealing with as well, that we faced, as far as that goes. I don't have the paper in front of me, but they keep claiming the SOPs say this, but the SOPs are a guideline. It says in the book that I have that it says the SOPs are a guideline. And it's supposed to be used as that, not where it's written in stone that the SOPs are what's, there can be variations as well. So, these town hall meetings are basically to ask information for, like, what's going on in the park. As I said in the past, I said, it doesn't really matter how many people come to the town hall meetings. Usually on YouTube, I've had as many as 250 people look at this, and they look at it, some people look at it 2 or 3 times online. I guess they're trying to figure out if I'm gonna say something that's a lie. Well, it's easy for me to tell the truth, because I don't have to think of what lie I told last week to cover up this week. And so I just tell the truth all the time. So, that's the best way to do it. Let's see, the other issue that I have is is some of the, as I've told new board members that are coming in that are running this time, I've talked to several of them already, and I told them that what's happened down through the years is that there's been rules after rules written on top of rules, and that makes it like, that causes a gray area. So, there are certain things you can do, there's certain things you gotta read over and over, and you gotta figure out if it's in the deed restrictions and the bylaws, it's in the amendments to change and this kind of thing. I think one other question that came up again earlier this week was, can a non-full-time resident be on the board? And according to the deed restrictions and bylaws, it cannot be. That would be something that have to be changed by the membership. It can't be something that I can do or the board can vote on. One thing that, when that's brought up, the one thing has to be considered is, well, if you're not, you might be able to have a Zoom meeting if you're not here and you're not here. But problem is that there's liaisons for committees, and there's certain things that just day-to-day operations that you should be involved with. And you can't really be involved with it if you're not here. Like, say, for example, the speeding issue, we've talked about it time and time again here. Well, when those reports come out, or somebody's got a problem in here, well, you need to be kind of present or in the park so they can tell you, so you can tell me. They can't tell you if you're, takes forever to get the other way around. If they tell you and then it comes back to me later, I like to take care of things right then and right there. Also, another rumor that's been, I'll address it again, is that the fact that I was going to, like, possibility to leave, and that was a couple weeks ago, and I decided to stay on, and because there's so many things I don't want to see happen, that I've seen a possibility of them happening in the last 6 weeks. And I decided, well, I'm just going to stay to make sure those things don't happen. let's see, as far as the agenda goes, we've had things on the agenda, especially the code of ethics come up. Well, I have a code of ethics in my presidential book there that when they put it all together, SOPs, deed restriction, everything, it's 2 pages of ethics. And it says the exact same thing of what they're saying, but what they're wanting. It's like, why are we voting on this? Why are we having it added in there? Well, some of the stuff that they have in there, they're gonna say they don't say it, but I don't agree with it. To me, if, say, for example, you live on, well, I'll just use the example, you live on Electra, and somebody on that street's got people living in their house that's not passed a background check, or not registered, or whatever. They don't feel like you should know if you're, say you live 10 houses down or next door, they feel like you shouldn't know if there's people living in there that's not registered. Well, they're not residents, so really they're illegal residents, so you should know if that person's not passed a background check, because you don't know whether that person got a criminal record or what the deal, and you'd be more safer in the way your actions are every day. And they don't agree with me on that. I think that we have a moral obligation to tell your neighbor if there's somebody living there that's not passed a background check. Also, I will say that I've planned on that, let's see, there's other things on the agenda that's gonna come up that was supposed to be at the meeting on Wednesday night. Of course, it didn't come up because we didn't have a quorum. Certain things on there that I did not put on there, and not agree to, and I will explain why at the time comes. But one of the things was, I didn't believe that we should buy a truck this time for code enforcement, because I'd always thought from last year when we bought the truck that, yeah, the truck was a good idea because the flooding, the rainy season, also it had a lifetime warranty on the drivetrain, so it could be passed from there to here or Public Works. And this time it needs to be something with way better gas mileage, so it probably needs to be something, it has to be a hatchback. So I looked at, I just did my own research anyway. I passed it on to them that I thought they should look into like a Honda Civic hatchback, because they get about somewhere close to 40, between 40 and 45 miles to the gallon. Let's see, if anybody has any, I'm gonna open up the question. I'm not gonna carry this long, because usually it's, I know Anna last week, she's not here, but open the questions. Feel free to ask any question. I'll try to answer if I can. Okay.
Hi, Joan Golick, Unit 2. Have a question. Is there a way that we could get an announcement made at bingo that when people leave here, they can please do the speed up going up Country Club?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Oh, that's another thing. That, talking about bingo. Tuesday night bingo is still gonna be there. I think Friday night bingo is probably tomorrow night, will probably be the last night of it, because it's still not breaking even. The numbers are only like at 115, I think it's gotta be 125 or better to break even, so, I don't think there'll be Friday night bingo after tomorrow. But,
And my other question is once they know that there's a problem with somebody in the park or whatever, how long does it take to see some action taken on this problem?
well, what's been going on, what I can tell you a lot of times is that if I know about it or somebody questions me, I can say, well, we're doing something, because I can ask what the address was. I can also ask what are being done about it. Right now, like, for example, this book right here, I'm looking at these pages. This is where every violation through, let's see, what day is this in? 10/22. This is every single violation. This has got their house number, their UBO number. It doesn't tell what the name of the people are. It tells them if they got it corrected within 14 days. And then you got some people that was fine, that didn't get it corrected in 14 days. Basically, I can tell, most of the time, I check behind them to see if it'd been like enforced, like somebody done something. So, I find very few that something's not been done on, it's either they don't know about it or, well, mainly because they don't know about it. For example, everybody sees, I've gotten people ask questions about the house on the way out, Brookridge Central Boulevard. If you notice beside the carport, they started to put a screen up there. They put 4x4 posts up there. And it's about this, probably about 1.5 feet off the carport in the grass. Well, they're only doing it to most likely screen the carport. I can tell you that there's a stop order on that to do that because we've already passed it that any screening for the carport had to be attached to the carport. So that'll clear up that. Most of the time, I can tell you if something's being done. If I have the address of it, I can have them print this off. And what I'm doing with the speeding aspect that's gonna start once he trains a floater to do the speeding. We're gonna calculate, he's gonna give me a printout every day of how many people got shot with the laser, how many cars got shot, and how many was. So there'll be a daily update on that, because some of the board members will say that it's been going on 40 years, just deal with it. And someone will say, well, there's nothing we can do about it. Well, that's not true, because we're a private community, we can enforce that. All right, go ahead.
Tracy McCumber, Unit 2. How long does it actually take if someone gets fined to get?
On most of them, unless it's per occurrence, which most of these are, when they have a violation, you got 14 days to fix it. So like, this one right here is like, let's see. Somebody asked a question about something about dogs earlier. I mean, not here, but I've got something on it. Well, right here it says dog droppings on street not cleaned up. Well, that was closed, so undoubtedly they had 14 days to clean it up. This one down here, house numbers not eligible for roadway. The reason they've got that one is because the fire department and the EMS does not know what house it is if they don't have the numbers on there legible. They got fined, so it must have been 14 days on that. I think the per occurrence is probably the speeding, and I want to say the parking on grass, and they're immediately. And also, the one other thing that somebody will complain about, that some of the ones that are habitual in here, they don't like the habitual because that's automatic if they get habitual. Like say, for example, say you got, I'll say weeds in the gutter. Okay, say you continually do that. And then at the end of 14 days, you got it fixed. And it's more than one time, maybe it's 3 or 4 times occurrence. Well, you've done it 3 or 4 times in a year. Then you could be considered the 5th time, be considered an habitual offender, which is what, let's see if I can find it, which is already done to several people in here that has people like living there with unregistered people living in the house. There's another one that's got the habitual offender thing to where it's automatically where they get hit with a $100 fine right away. So if they're classified as that, they get it regardless of whatever it is, they get the $100 fine and they lose their privilege.
My concern is, why wait 2 weeks? Why not a week?
Well, state law says it's gotta be said some of that stuff's gotta be 14 days.
Okay, so it's state law. Now, what's the turnaround time then? So if somebody gets fined, I mean, are we getting our money from those people expeditiously, or is it drug out?
Most of the time, I can say we get pretty quick. Then you got some that want it to go for, well, I won't tell you the name of the person, but right now we got one that went to $1,000. So once it goes to $1,000, you put a lien on their house, this kind of thing. And somebody asked today about it, if we can put a lien on people's houses, or there's a difference. You can put a lien on people's house if they've been fined and the fines get up to $1,000. You can put a foreclosure on the house if they're behind on assessments, only 2 months. And that is the difference. Sometimes, like say for example, if this person's got clutter in the carport, if they let this thing go and it went to $1,000, then you put a lien on the property. We don't collect that money until they sell the house. So that lien could be on there 20 years. Where if it's assessments, then you can do foreclosure, and usually it takes about 6 months to get them to foreclose on it. And that's usually the way it works.
Okay, so we have a hard time collecting monies that are owed to the community.
Yeah, usually it takes a while to when you got people that defy anything. Then you got some people that get fined and they pay it right away because they don't want to lien on their property and this kind of thing.
Thank you.
Okay, Leo up here up front.
It's a,
Do you feel that the board sometimes gets involved in issues that should be resolved at the committee level?
I think they get involved sometimes they get involved with the clubs too much to hinder the way they work. I don't necessarily about the committees. I think some do, some don't. I know that I'm liaison for the ACC committee myself, and I try to stay out of everything, every decision that they have made or they disagree with. And one thing we're going through is like, and then I'll say, well, I think you ought to do this. Prime example is that wall particular thing. At first it started with the wall on screening on Brookridge Boulevard on that end, it'll be up that way. And they put it out there because the lady was like, had wheelchair and she couldn't get in her car and that kind of thing was the reason for it. Or she claimed she was screening screening the trailer. Well, it ended up being crooked. The wall was sticking about 5 feet out in the yard is between her property line and the carport. And we thought it should have been, they thought it should not be there and they want to turn it down. Well, we couldn't turn it down because there was no rule against it. So then I made the motion that if it's screening on the carport, it is attached to the carport to eliminate that. Because they were putting things up in the middle of the yard that was, to me, should have been a fence and 6 feet high, not 8 feet high. So, yeah.
I think the point I'm trying to make, why can't the committee involved with that issue make a determination versus the board always coming in and quarterbacking the violation?
Well, that has to do with the deed restriction and bylaws and things like that. See, the committees don't have the power to do anything like that because they got to answer to the board. That's the reason it's that way. It's not where they can it's like they can't oversee what the board does, like make the decision. That's the reason. And that is primarily, that goes back to the very beginning. So it's in the bylaws and deed restrictions from the very beginning. I don't have any of that with me, but that's where it's come from.
And in a few months, I'll be deeply involved in some of this.
Right,
I just strongly feel the board gets involved in issues that should be resolved on a committee level. Maybe there's certain things they cannot do,
right,
and I realize you gotta look at the rules and regulations and whatever. I think all the board should get involved in is to change rules and regulations to enable these committees to make those decisions, that it should not always go to the board.
that's right. I agree that they should get involved in some of them. I mean, should not get involved in some of them, like I've noticed here lately that, well, I'll use this for example. One of the clubs, for example, is like the board members want to dictate the vote in there, how they vote, how it's set up and everything in there. I don't agree with, the only time I open my mouth in the ACC meeting is I let them handle everything, is if they got a question about, if they turn something down and we see it like in the deed restrictions, or they've not got a rule against it or whatever, which is that one, I can go back to one thing on it. Well, I'll use the ACC for example, because I'm involved in it. So one rule they had, they was against the lattice on the, being attached to the carport. They didn't want a freestanding wall, but they didn't want it attached to the carport either if somebody wanted, or wasn't gonna do anything about it. Well, and I was the one that said, y'all need to do something about it, because y'all keep complaining about this over and over. Well, another one is that they still not brought anything to me. They don't want the wall out there in the middle of the yard. Well, I said, why don't we do something, say, okay, let's say if it's a fence, the fence has to be as close to the property line as they can get it. If it's 12 inches away or something, that'll eliminate somebody from putting up a wall in the middle of the yard, or just part of a fence up there. And they didn't want to do that, and I've yet to hear anything else from them. So sometimes they are delayed, or there are certain people on certain committees that don't want things done. That's another thing I learned here, is some of the old board members that have been around for a while, they don't want to make changes to something, or they don't want to they don't want to take care of problems. They just pass it off as, well, it can't be done, whatever. So it has to be somebody on the board step in and take responsibility for it. So really and truly, the committees, it'd be nice if the committees took care of some of these things, but the final say is that it's got to go before the board. What is it? It's like,
Do you think that's correct, always going back to the board?
well, I think it is, yeah. I think it needs to be that, because board members get voted in by the residents, and committees it's people who volunteer. Like, I got a list here of people volunteering for the rules and regulations. There's about 5 right here, resumes in front of me. And we've not put that committee together yet. So I just think that a lot of things I've learned myself, that, some things would be ridiculous if the committees would not do it, or did do it, because they have.
The problem I having, and you may see more of that later on,
Okay,
I have no problem with a committee approaching the board
okay,
for an opinion or a comment as to what should or shouldn't happen. My concern is, it should be determined on a committee level and not on the board level. You hear me?
Yeah, I've gotten accused in the last week of letting the advisory committee that we put together make the decision on speeding part, and, I mean, so I heard no end of it by other board members, and I got emails that are from them that say that, I overstepped and, that they should not have no say, they should not have the final say-so, even though they were getting research and stuff as far as, that goes. Yeah, I'd like to see, I would actually, if there was some way to work it out, I'd like to see more of the snowbirds actually be on the board if that was possible. But when you look at, like I said before, when you look at the deed restrictions and you look at the rule, articles of incorporation and things like that, it's like rule after rule after rule is made where there's no, I'll say in the past that if, a great example is if I didn't like you and you did something wrong to me and I was on the board, well, previously, I would intentionally find something wrong with your house to make a rule against, because I just didn't like you. That's the way it's been in the past. So that's why there's probably, in my book, there's probably about that thick. The rules, regulations, deed restrictions, and everything else. So I think in the past, there's things been done by committees that board members have not liked, so they pass rules and regulations to limit their input on anything or how they can do it. Now it's carrying over to clubs or wanting to tell them how their elections are supposed to be and everything, and it's not any rules to say that. It's just, they just think they got, I'll be honest with you, they think they got more power than what they think they got, but, yeah.
Got a few things, going back from the beginning, Mr. Bennett, Jerry, one solution is to name the culprits so the members can confront those. Jerry Kraft, the code of ethics is too broad, not specific, and would leave everything open to personal discretion. This is just another thing that will cause issues. Comment to Jerry and question, what is your opinion on that? And I'll go through the rest of them. I feel that the residents should vote on any code of ethics is that to be put in place. There are some board members, past and present, that are abrupt and rude to residents. Mr. Duncan wrote, I think the code of ethics should be written by the members. Jerry agreed. And if you can make residents members of the community, if you mean residents members of the community, yes. Thank you for your clarifying that. They're talking between each other. She said, Jerry says, I totally disagree about the committee deciding issues. James Benn totally agrees. Sandy Hoos writes, maybe the board should start a committee which are members, if they would volunteer, to draw up a code of ethics. Volunteers are few and far between. Some same volunteers are all the time. That was pretty much it. Other than feel all the members should be involved in ethics.
Okay, one of the first questions you asked me.
Sorry.
That's okay. One of the first questions that was asked, can I name names? Okay, well, I'm not gonna name names, but I will say this, James, it's who you think it was from the very beginning. I know who you're talking about, and you should know who you're talking about as well. So, I'll have a private conversation with you and tell you exactly who it is. I've told it to other people as well, but I won't say in this setting because if it's, well, I'm gonna say this, not really covering my butt, but I'm gonna have to say this, covers my butt because it'll be on tape. I don't want to say who the members is that's causing problems. I'll just say that that two usually sit down there, and one sits over on the side. That's all I'll say. So, I will read you an email concerning that, and you can figure it out who it come from. Okay, because we talked about this last week. I've got two emails. They want to hide behind emails and not be, not say things in public because they're afraid of their image. Okay, let's see. See if I can find it.
Do you feel the committees do an adequate job? Or do you feel they don't do an adequate job because they don't have the power to do so?
Well, I feel like they do an adequate job. I agree with them on most things I'll tell you this, when we had the health committee and when we had to close it up last year for a little bit for the mask mandate stuff, I was not for the mask mandate, so to speak, but the committee wanted there to be a mask mandate. And I went along with the committee on that part because they were more experienced in that. They were nurses and physical therapists and things like that. They were in the healthcare field. So I kept an open mind and went along with that. So I agree with doing it back when we did it in September, October, or part of August, I guess it was too. I agree with that. This time around, I thought everybody had most people had the vaccine, most people had the booster shot, and I thought that we should not have a mandate this time. So in my opinion, because does Omicron or that virus that variant does not have a what do you call it, deep respiratory things. So that was the reason. Plus, it was strange how that worked out. I put it in place. We agreed with that on Friday to do it. Monday, I got so much flack from all the clubs. Didn't want me to do it. They threatened to go call the governor of the state. Then on Wednesday, they came in and said we didn't do it soon enough, pretending that they are resident friendly, and said we didn't do the mask mandate soon enough. And then on Thursday, they're back at it, doing the same thing they did on Monday and Tuesday, threatening us, and they're trying to find a way around it. So I noticed that some of the board members were involved in some of the committee, or not committees, but clubs. And I will say that the social dance was one of them. And they said as long as you're eating, you have mints in your mouth, you don't have to wear a mask. And this place was not really packed the first time around, but it was packed after we lifted it. It was packed for the New Year's Eve dance. And then, of course, instead of asking the people that attended if they felt comfortable that they should wear a mask, they didn't do it, and about 12 to 15 people got COVID. And then they come to me the next day and want to know what I was going to do about it. And they took personal responsibility. They knew the risk. So, you can't win. Sometimes you can't win with that aspect of it. So, see, what was the other question that they had, Susan? I think I answered James' question.
You answered it, yeah, you answered it. They were talking amongst themselves.
No, okay.
And Sandy Who said maybe the board should start a committee, which are members if they would volunteer to draw up a code of ethics. Volunteers are few and far between. Same volunteers all the time. And Jerry Kraft replied, I feel all members should be involved in ethics.
Well, actually, I'm going to agree with Sandy Hoos on that. It is a hard time getting people to volunteer to do anything because people want they retire, they don't wanna do anything. Even I've been hit with that here in the last 6 or 8 weeks where I don't even feel like I won't even do this part. But, I talked to some people about it and, I agree that, well, that even though I've had a stroke and a heart attack, that I'm strong enough to continue on. But like, I told Carol this morning, sometimes at 9 o'clock in the morning, I can't make meetings because it's like, takes me a while to get motivated to, like, get ready. So,
Okay.
I
Jerry Kraft, committee members should not have the power the board has. Too many issues. They should also have to be voted on by the members and be held to strict standards.
Well, I see that because I've seen what if you allowed that to happen, then you have certain people that get on, like, I'm not saying they volunteer so much, like, they can be friends with somebody, and you get 2 or 3 on a committee that might be best friends, and they're making the decision that not the rest of the community wants, so.
Sir, I think a point I'm trying to make is I think there should be more communication between the committee and the board or board members, rather than the board making a decision in lieu of the committee.
Well, typically there is. I mean, there is, like, especially I communicate with the ACC committee as much as I can, because I'm there I'm there every Monday. They have a meeting twice a month on Mondays. So, okay, next person, please.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay.
Unit 1, George Churchill, 14518 DeHaven Avenue.
Okay.
I agree you got a speeding problem, mainly on the Boulevard and Country Club. However, in the last 2 years, there has not been much enforcement of that. I go down the Boulevard all the time. I no longer see security doing radar.
Okay.
I think any decisions made after you guys reinstate that, and people are out there with our own security folks taking care of business, rather than going out, getting an expensive evaluation of our signs and so on, and also bringing the police in. After 40-some years, it's too early to start all that with the police. Try and get back where you were 2 years ago on enforcement. Thank you.
Okay. I can answer this comment because that's going on this week, as a matter of fact. Greg is training one of the floaters to do speed enforcement. They are actually going to, I can tell you how they're going to do it. Okay, they're going to be on the Boulevard, they're going to be on Country Club and in some other places. Okay, they're going to shoot the car from the front while it's speeding towards them, I guess. Then they're going to take a picture of it from the back. Even though they slowed down, the first picture will show them if they're doing 40 miles an hour, they're doing 40. The picture from behind will be showing them passing on that, whatever, 30 miles an hour. Okay, they're going to know that car is the same one in the first picture that's in the second picture, because they're not getting exactly safe in the middle of, like straight in front of it in the middle of the road, because you'll be able to see the sides of it and everything. That radar calibrates itself every 2 seconds. So that means that they can shoot it from 2 seconds away coming towards them, whether it be 100 yards or 50 yards, and they can shoot it as soon as it goes by, it'll recalibrate itself to the next one. And somebody said, well, you can't do that. It's not calibrated by the state. Yes, we can, because we're private roads. So I've never signed anything to bring the county in. The county has told the advisory committee, I did listen, and they have told people that have complained over other stuff, they've called the county as well, and they have said over the last 2.5 weeks that we'll still have these problems as long as code enforcement does not enforce them. They feel like why should the county come in, because Greg is not, basically, he's not, code enforcement not doing their job. So they've come up with this, and I agree that we'd try a 6-week period with somebody trained to strictly do radar, and their goal is to do radar, and we see how that goes, and I'm gonna get a daily report on that, how many people they've shot, how many fines that went out, the locations as well, and if it's successful, which I think it will be, then toward the end of the 6-week period, they will also be, it's gonna be a she, I know that. So she will be able to, like certain intersections, she's gonna look for people that primarily run stop sign, which is probably gonna get a bunch at Brookridge Central Boulevard and Brookridge Boulevard, because that's where people run that stop sign. So there is something going on, yeah.
Jerry, Mom, I live on Country Club Drive, 7515. It's just before the big curve and the big hill coming up to the clubhouse.
Right.
We have a lot of people going extremely fast. I don't have a radar, I can't tell you for sure what their speed is, but it's a narrow road. There's always talk about Brookridge Boulevard. You did mention Country Club, but it's only a narrow road, and a lot of people walk on it, and there's people speeding all the time, so I would like that Country Club, the total Country Club going down to the gate, patrolled, and people, have radar on it. I had a suggestion of possibly having one of those, the radar readers that tells people how fast they're going, so that at least when they're speeding, they'll be self-informed about how fast they're going.
Yeah, we've looked into that. They're about $10,000 for one. I've looked into that as well. I've talked to 4 companies about that. The thing, and the sheriffs on the side where the sheriffs used to bring them in, the sheriff will only bring them in for about a week.
Why don't we do a donation like we did for the sign? I'm sure our members of our community, why don't we want to bring in a sign? Why don't we do a fundraiser? We did it for the sign, right?
Right.
Just saying, I'm trying to get on the advisory committee because I have some ideas that I think, and I don't think we have one answer. I think it's going to be a combination of things that's going to curb this speeding issue, and that's why I want to get on that committee, because I have some ideas that I think would be helpful, so.
Okay, go ahead. You got another question?
Yeah. You said $10,000 for one of those signs that say how fast you're going. What's the cost going to be to bring in that agency that you said in your letter to evaluate all our signs?
Okay, originally, to evaluate the signs, they were gonna be actually free from the county. So the county said that they didn't have the manpower to do it. So the only thing in that letter was that I wrote, or what the advisory committee put together was, they said they would try to get information. So I don't have information from like companies per se yet to certify the roads. I'm still not saying we're gonna go that way, because it's like, I wanna see how this works, and if we start doing, if this is effective to get people to slow down, then we keep doing that. I'd much rather save any kind of money to pay any kind of consulting or anybody. Originally, it was gonna be the county, and they were gonna get, the advisory committee was looking into grants as well to try to get, if they need to find somebody to do it, the grants would pay for the traffic engineers if it was a private firm.
Okay. When we had a study done maybe 10 to 15 years ago, one of the things that came out was there'll be no golf carts on the streets. That was in that study. And the police said that themselves, the sheriff's department said that. And because they had to conform to all the state laws that they have to go by, and they can't make exceptions Has that been addressed about golf carts on our
I
streets?
don't think that would be word golf cart community. I don't think that would be,
You don't think so? Has anything been said about it?
well, nobody, Ernie Long, which was Lane from the county, he said nothing to us about the golf cart part. So that'd have to be something to be looked into.
Well, you go back and look at what the sheriff's department said 15 years ago, and you're gonna find out that the golf carts were an issue.
Well, that's something the advisory committee they've got to look at that. That's a good point. I'll get.
Well, we'd like to see that addressed.
Okay.
And also, I think that, with all the money that we put into reserves this year, I think $10,000 isn't too much to spend for one, sign to give indications, and that tells people that they're being looked at. It's effective on major highways, it's effective on streets here in Brookridge, and for $10,000, you might get a big bang out of your dollars. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. You brought up a good point, though. I'm gonna check on that. We didn't think about asking him about the golf course situation. I know our primary thing when we talked was just speeding and the stop sign.
Jerry, so is he saying that we shouldn't have golf carts on our streets?
No, he's saying that the sheriffs came in and told him 10 years ago that the golf carts cannot be on the streets.
But we have private roads, so they can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be a large disservice to our community. I don't even have a golf cart, and I can't imagine people that do have golf carts that couldn't use them on our streets. Again, I think we're just not really getting to the core of the issue, and I think if we can get it curbed, then these things can all be taken care of, but it's gonna take a lot of work. And again, I just need your support to get me on that advisory committee. Thank you.
What's that? Say, I'm gonna get them to, like I said, I'm gonna get them to address that, and we're gonna stay on the, part about code enforcement, especially Greg changing the girl to run the radar. And if that's effective, then I see no point in trying to go on with the county doing anything. So I'd like to see us do it ourselves. So, anybody else got any question about anything? Any other questions online?
No. No, Jerry.
Okay. He's got one back here.
Thank you. I'm a snowbird, so I just came back in December, and I see code enforcement driving around in a big gas-sucking four-wheel drive pickup truck.
Actually, that gets better mileage than actually the car does right now, because the car's got so many problems in it. They're saying it gets 3 to 4 times the gas mileage. That car's,
Compare it to something else that can be purchased at this time. I don't know if that's a brand-new truck that showed up here, but it really seems to me that that is not the kind of vehicle. What do they need a pickup truck that has four-wheel drive for?
okay, I don't know if it's 4-wheel drive or not, but I do know when we got it, had a lifetime warranty on the drivetrain and motor. That was something else was $5,000, it was $5,000. I think I've actually got it right here.
Jerry? Go ahead. I'll say something.
Go ahead and say something then.
I just would like to know the criteria for choosing that vehicle.
See, one good benefit of just on a clubhouse manager issue, okay, that I do a lot of shopping, going out to Pinch Penny and collecting my own chlorine, my own acid, own alkalinity powder. Stuff's heavy, and I have to have it, I can't have it inside a car, okay, I can't have it inside a Suburban, and it has to be in an open bed, or I'm towing a trailer. So the way the trucks work for like up here, okay, the truck that I currently have now was Public Works, and it was a 2007, okay? And the truck that I had before was a 2001 from security way back when they got the truck before this. So I was driving up to 2018, a 17-year-old truck, okay? And we got rid of that truck, okay, to buy Public Works. All right, so when that truck comes up due to allocate a new truck, I would hope that that truck would come up here and use this one for a trade-in. The GMC, which is a gas guzzler. It's a V8, 2500, okay, but was already purchased, okay? But that would be the next truck to be for the clubhouse after it's used up at code enforcement. That'd be my opinion.
So the only reason you need the pickup truck is because you have to haul chlorine once in a while? I mean, isn't there a
Once every
public-
10 days.
Isn't there one of the other trucks that are available here? Would that be usable for, like, your use?
There's 2 pickup trucks with me and Billy, with me and Public Works, and then now we have code enforcement. So, Billy, there's no four-wheel drive trucks in here. Billy doesn't even have four-wheel drive.
Okay, okay. Okay, thank you.
I think we've been over the truck thing a lot, and I think we all here own vehicles, right? It's a necessary evil in life. It's like paying taxes. And I think the choice was a good one for our community. We don't buy trucks every year, and they've got a great warranty on the truck. But I just think it's one of those things, unfortunately, it's a necessary evil in our world. So everybody's got to have one. And I think for Vince's purposes and our community as a whole, that we deserved a truck, and we probably needed, like Jerry said, another car. So, and we've heard this for months and months and months about the truck, and I think we got bigger issues like speeding.
Thanks.
I got one more comment. Jerry, this is from Sandy Hoos. Code enforcement picks up dead animals.
That's for dead animals and tree limbs and things like that, as well when Billy's not working.
Yeah, I like to reiterate on a pickup truck for code enforcement. A while back, that's all we had. Okay, that's all we ever had was pickup trucks, right? All right. It wasn't up to for a few years ago until we got the 2 cars. So, I remember coming down here a long time ago, I always had pickup trucks, and that's why I had a 2001 6-cylinder, two-wheel drive pickup truck. It was small, it was efficient, didn't go very far. When we turned it in, it had 185,000 miles on it, okay? It got well used, and we got our money's worth, okay? So, but, when we have storms, they carry barricades, they carry cones, you name it. They pick up dead animals, you name it. They don't want that in a car, right? All right, so it's used, okay? So, Jerry?
Okay, if there's not any more questions, comments, we'll go ahead and end this town hall meeting then. I appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you, Leo, for showing up.
Okay, get it. Ask you a question. End it. Okay. Now you have to go hit the button over there on